Help me to reach 2,000 subscribers. The photograph slipped from the envelope and fluttered to the floor like a dead leaf. I stared at it, frozen, my heart pounding so violently it felt like it might bruise my ribs. There he was, Daniel, my ex-husband, standing in front of a small bookstore I didn't recognize. He was smiling. Not just a casual, everyday smile, but that deep, glowing one he used to give me, back when I was the only person who could make him laugh like that. And beside him was a woman holding his hand. My throat closed. I picked up the photo with shaking fingers, the edges biting into my skin. "He seems happy," said Cole, the private investigator I'd hired, his voice low but cautious. "Who is she?" I whispered. Cole hesitated. "Her name's Mara. They've been together for almost 2 years. 2 years. I did the math before I could stop myself. Daniel and I had divorced 1 year and 8 months ago. I was the one who cheated. I was the one who broke him. But 2 years meant something else entirely. It meant he hadn't waited for the ink on our papers to dry before moving on. Or worse, it meant maybe I wasn't the only one who had been unfaithful. The room suddenly felt smaller, the air thick. "Do you want to see more?" Cole asked. I nodded, though every part of me screamed not to. He placed a few more photos on the table. Daniel with that same woman walking through a park, laughing over coffee, fixing a bicycle together. I studied their faces. His hand on her lower back. The easy intimacy between them. The kind of comfort that doesn't form overnight. Guilt and jealousy fought inside me like wild animals. I had hired Cole because I told myself I just wanted to know Daniel was okay. That he was eating properly, sleeping enough, living a decent life after what I'd done. But that was a lie. Deep down I wanted to believe he still missed me. That my betrayal hadn't erased every good memory we'd made. Now looking at these photos I realized the truth. He was happier without me. The night I cheated on Daniel had been both blur and clarity. I told myself it was an accident, a moment of weakness. A colleague, late night, too much wine, too many unsaid resentments in my marriage. But when I confessed weeks later, Daniel didn't yell. He didn't cry. He simply said, "You made a choice." That was the moment I lost him. Not the night I slept with someone else, but the moment I saw his face go blank with resignation. Even now, sitting in my dim apartment surrounded by the echoes of that life, I could hear the quiet click of the front door closing behind him. The sound that shattered my world more than any screaming match could have. 3 days after seeing the photos, I couldn't resist. I drove to the small town where Cole had found Daniel. It was supposed to be a quick drive just to see him from a distance to find closure. The bookstore was quaint, its window filled with old paperbacks and hand-painted signs. I parked across the street, my palms slick with sweat. Then I saw him. He was standing at the counter, sleeves rolled up, that familiar focused expression on his face as he stacked books. He looked older, calmer. There was a peace about him that I'd never given him. And then she appeared, Mara, the woman from the photos. She brought him a coffee, brushing a bit of cream off his lip with her thumb. He smiled. Something inside me broke, quietly but completely. I got out of the car, almost without thinking. My heart pounded with every step toward the door. The bell above it jingled softly as I walked in. He looked up, and for a second everything stopped. "Lena." His voice was startled, soft. "Hey," I managed, forcing a small smile. "It's been a while." He just looked at me like he was trying to piece together why I was there. "I was in the area," I lied. "Thought I'd say hi." Mara appeared beside him, her smile warm but guarded. "Hi, I'm Mara." I shook her hand, my stomach churning. She didn't seem to know who I was, and maybe that was worse than if she did. "I've heard a lot about you," she said kindly. I swallowed hard. "I'm sure you have." The three of us stood there, the silence thick with everything unsaid. Finally I turned to Daniel. "You look good. Happier." He gave a small nod. "Yeah, I am." Those words hit harder than any accusation could. I left the store before I broke down. But as I reached my car, I heard his voice behind me. "Lena, wait." I turned. He walked up slowly, hands in his pockets. "Why did you come?" I could have lied again, said it was curiosity or coincidence. But for once I was done lying. "I wanted to know if you ever loved me after what I did," I said, my voice trembling. "Or if I was just a mistake you finally got over." He exhaled, the kind of breath that carries years of pain. "I loved you, Lena. probably more than I should have. But I learned that love isn't enough when trust is gone. I nodded, tears blurring my vision. She's good for you, I said. She is, he admitted. But so were you, until you stopped being honest. It was a knife to the chest, but a deserved one. He walked back toward the store, the bell jingling again as the door closed behind him. I stood there, the autumn wind cold against my face, realizing that forgiveness doesn't always come wrapped in reunion. Sometimes it's silence. Sometimes it's knowing the other person finally found peace, even if it's without you. That night, I called Cole to thank him. Did you find what you were looking for? He asked. I paused, staring at the photo of Daniel and Mara on my kitchen table. No, I whispered. But I think I found what I needed. As I hung up, I took one last look at the picture before sliding it into a drawer. The guilt, the pain, the longing, they were still there but quieter now. I finally understood what Daniel had meant when he said love wasn't enough. Love without honesty was just another form of betrayal. And maybe for the first time since I'd lost him, I was ready to stop betraying myself.